All right, we are live. Let's see. I'm gonna give like a few seconds for people to be able to join in. How are you, Noor?
Very well. Excited.
Me too. I'm slightly nervous because we're doing it live.
This is
It's
our
so
first time.
different. Okay.
And I think like podcasts are like easier.
Yeah,
Webinars are like stressful.
I know, especially if they're live, it's like, oh my God, what if this goes wrong? Or what if technology decides to not support us? So many different options. I see that on YouTube, there are some people watching. Just want to double check how many are on LinkedIn so we can give a little bit more time, maybe like a minute or two.
Mhm.
And those who are watching, be prepared for any questions you may have. Feel free to send it in our text on in the comments on YouTube or LinkedIn from wherever you're joining. Um,
Who's from our team is going to respond to them?
I think I should be able to respond as soon as I see any comments.
Okay.
Hi, Mohammed. Thanks for joining us. I see on LinkedIn there are 8 people joining in. Um, awesome, awesome. Uh, okay. And if anything, like if you guys can hear or see things, just let us know if you have any problem. There might be like a few seconds of delay because we're doing it live. But bear with us. It should be fine.
Where are you connecting from?
I am. Are you asking me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I am in my home in San Francisco. Are
Nice.
you in the office?
No, I might go later, but now I'm also at home. It's what is it? 9 a.m. my time.
Mm,
Now in San Jose,
nice,
California.
nice. All right. Okay. 11 and more and counting. Okay, I think Noor, I think we can join in.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, Nastia wants to join in. All right.
Hi, Nastia.
Hello. Is it just three of us or we're live?
We're live. I'm
We're
gonna
live.
put you off the stream if that's okay, so you
Yes.
can be like a fly on the wall.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. Okay, Noor, are you ready?
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Let's get in.
Awesome. Hey everyone, welcome to Explain's first session of Agent O'Clock. Thanks to our marketing designer Jaren for coming up with such a cool name for this webinar series. I'm Sonam. I am this developer advocate here at Explain, and I'm super duper excited for today's session because we are going to dive into some fresh product updates and feature drops straight from the source. Joining me is Noor, our head of product. Hi,
Um,
Noor.
hello, hello.
Before we dig into what's new, let's stage the stage a little bit.
Sure.
So, Noor, for anyone new here or maybe just discovering about us, could you give like a quick overview of Explain's mission and what we are all about?
Yeah, of course. So thank you everyone for joining in. My name is Nur Hamdan, and I've been with Explain for the past 4 years. And I went from being a user researcher to a product manager, and now I am head of product at Explain. And it's really it's really my pleasure. I've been working with amazing team. We have a core AI team at our company, and between the publications, between the filing of patents, and between the product, it has been hectic. But we love this, and we're like every month we're releasing frequently new features, and that's why we came up with this idea. Like, let's expose these features and talk about them, and then give more chance for people to ask questions about them. But we also have our Discord, so I'm correct, so everyone can
Yes.
always ask there as well.
Yep.
Okay, so to start off, Explain is an agentic platform. It's an end-to-end platform. I'll explain a little bit more what that means. We've been on the market for the past 5 years. When we started with the smallest GPT you can imagine. It was really small, minimal. It was not it was not a large language model at that point.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And on top of that, we built our first agent, which is Bellesprit. What Bellesprit was doing is actually taking a user description of a problem, which now we're calling prompts, and building an AI solution. At that time, 5 years ago, through like 2 years in, we were building just rule-based systems with Bellesprit. It was building the rule-based system, showing you a flow of how all the intelligent parts are connected together, and then actually deploys it if you say thumbs up. So that was powerful. Our customers were using that to create smaller systems that will automate, fix problems inside of their operations. And we then started seeing LLMs becoming smarter, and we became more interested in making these rule-based outputs more autonomous. And that's how we came up with our agentic platform, which we have today. So today we're using large language models at the heart of autonomous agents. We still have the rule-based systems in aiXplain, but now you can use them in a more hybrid manner. So you can build a completely autonomous system, and only when you're doing something very risky and something like a task that needs to be following a specific flow, then you can plug in a rule-based system to our autonomous system, and then you have this beautiful hybrid control. So more or less, that's how we have been starting. And if you're following up with just what is the undertone, under mission of all this, it is actually to enable more people to go from idea and concept to a solution. So far, we were thinking like, engineers come up with ideas, entrepreneurs come up with that idea, and then they have to hire an engineer to build it. This is shifting. The world is changing. Everyone is becoming what we're referring to as a builder. If they have the right intent, if they have the right sentiment, and they're interested in being a little bit more hands-on, we want to support them and aiXplain to go and take their problem or product idea into actually a product that they can deploy and ship.
Awesome. That's very beautifully said. And I totally am on board with the mission, and I totally get like where we are heading towards. Now, speaking of making AI approachable, democratizing it to everyone possible, I've been seeing this word builder pop up in our Slack and a few roadmap documents recently. I know you have been championing this term quite a bit. Now, can you tell us what builder really means in the world of aiXplain?
Yeah. So if you're in a company or a startup and you're as ambitious as we are when we're saying we want everyone to be able to ship, you definitely have to start by segmenting in order to target and build intentionally, and then expand your segments. So when we started, we focused on developers because they had the system engineering mindsets, so they were able to think pipelines, agents, flows. That was easy for them to even convert an idea to that structure. But then we started, you can think of it as a collaborating with large language models and abstracting this knowledge that is needed to create your first system. So we removed the need to have this super technical background in order to start off, and that's where the builder came in. So the builder is anyone with a clear problem to solve, a desire to create, and willingness to learn and iterate. They're not defined really by job titles. They don't have a specific job title. They don't have a technical degree specifically, but they have the intention, the curiosity, and ambition. And now with technology just lowering the barrier so low for entry to AI solution building, we already have on the platform people who are not engineers, and they are coming in as entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs. They have the idea and they're not ready to hire a team yet, but they want to have their MVP built. So we have teachers that are building automations to grade for their classes, to grade different exams. We have we recently had some entrepreneur who wants to do task management via prompting. So we've seen people just coming up with ideas and actually defining them on the platform with us, like going back and forth between what is possible, how can we use the APIs that are existing in the world to make the idea actually come to life. So it has been an exciting time to be mingling not just with engineers but also with ambitious builders who are like more actually less constrained by technicality and more
Right.
ambitious in terms of like problem solving.
Fair point. And that makes so much sense, especially because builder feels broader, as you mentioned, than just being a developer engineer. And it's someone who's curious, like you said, who wants to build smart things, even if they're, deep in the AI weeds. And do you think like builder is one of Explain's target personas? Would
For
you
sure.
define that as is?
For
Okay,
sure.
that's
For sure, and I think it's also a flexible definition. As I mentioned in my definition, my initial definition, you can see there's a lot of people that can plug into that. So internally, we do still segment in order to be able to target, but
mhm.
it is our target persona, and that's where we're building for.
That's pretty good. Awesome. Okay, now let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
Everybody's talking about agent frameworks. There is a lot happening in the space,
Correct.
especially being in SF. All I hear, even in coffee shops, is like, oh, building AI agents.
Correct.
Now, but when you look at what's out there and then look at what Explain offers, it feels like we are doing something fundamentally different. So, Noor, when you think about Explain's agent architecture, how would you describe what sets it apart, especially from the standpoint of someone who's building or deploying real use
Correct.
cases?
A very good question. And we get this question a lot, really, because our customers are also hearing these buzzwords coming from different companies, even companies that are now that have different focuses. They have now some agentic layering to them, where they offer their experiences through agents. And I think one of the main things that we usually describe to our customers is the difference between having an agentic autonomous solution and a workflow automation. So
Hmm.
that's one of the first things we actually need to differentiate. Um, but once we get that understanding going on, it comes down to what is explain. What is the point of view of explain agentic
Hmm.
framework? And um, we started by let's enable everyone to build, right? And that's still true for us.
Hmm.
But in order to go from build to ship or build to
Hmm.
deploy, the stages, the line, the steps are not a straight line. It's not just about putting things together.
Hmm.
Getting an agent to run is is the mission.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is it's very hard. Getting an agent to connect from your email to your social media network and do some kind of summarization analysis, that is easy, right? Usually you're just debugging maybe a few problems with communication. um, but we're talking about real complex user problems and
Hmm.
company problems. When
Hmm.
we're talking about risk assessment, compliance evaluation, when talking with companies that are doing finances, and it's really very risky tasks that we're working with. This is where we understand that a real agent, an agent that will make it to production, has to be from the design reliable. It shouldn't be just patched in where you have a great prototype and then you start thinking, how can I make it trustworthy? From the design, we built our architecture with micro agents inside of it in order to
Hmm.
make it more reliable. And let me dig into the micro agents a little bit,
Yeah.
because that
Especially the
is,
name, it's micro agents. Let's talk about it more.
yeah, our CEO came with the name, and like we are like we jumped on it. So let me share actually a visualization. Hopefully you can see it
Absolutely.
well. Um, just a second. Okay, I'm not sure like how well screen sharing here. I'm trying. Okay. Do you see this one?
In a minute. There we go.
Okay. I'm going to select this particular slide because it will take us through um, the micro agents bit. So just give me a second. It's lagging on the screen. Okay, here we
I'm
are. Can you see this?
oh, you scroll back. There we go. Okay.
Perfect. Okay, so if you look here, what you see is our multi-agent architecture.
Hmm.
Everything in blue is what we refer to as a micro agent. And
Mm-hmm.
these are embedded in the architecture. That means if you say, create an agent on Explain, you already have a mentalist, an orchestrator, an inspector, and a bodyguard embedded inside. And they are out of the box already fine-tuned to work as I will describe, but they can still be even fine-tuned further. So
Mm-hmm.
mentalist is your micro agent that is responsible for creating a multi-step plan, not just take an idea and just send it to the next tool and find the tool's output, and based on that realize what is the next tool. This can happen. This is how a single agent would work.
Mm-hmm.
But a team of agent that has a mentalist micro agent is designed to create, to actually solve complex problems that need to be broken down, and have someone oversee the entire plan into it.
Mm-hmm.
So not step by step and blindly just going for the next step, based on the just one step previous. So this is a more a general perspective on what is the optimized plan for solving that problem. And in
Got it.
order to separate between the executor and the thinker, think of them this way, we separated the mentalist and the orchestrator, such that the orchestrator will take the plan and will execute that. And by executing, I mean it will create the right syntax for
Mm-hmm.
invoking the right tools to solve each step of the plan. This separation also allows us to find exactly where the where problems can appear. Was it in parsing the communication between the orchestrator and the tools, or was it in the plan itself? And these
Mm-hmm.
are, and since they're separated, it just allows us to cleanly target the problem and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
The two other elements, which are bodyguard and inspector, these are the reliability responsible micro agents. Bodyguard sits on top of your data source, whatever that data source is. It could be your Google Drive folders. It could be your Snowflake database. It doesn't matter where the data is coming from. It could be just a PDF file, really. Bodyguard is, think of it as your role-based access control agent.
Mm-hmm.
So bodyguard is usually super customized for every user, every customer. They tell
Mm-hmm.
us, for example, these are the people who have access to these kind of files. This is usually in a JSON format of some kind of XML file. We just integrate that's what the bodyguard will ingest and start applying that information there. Finally, the inspector. An inspector is definitely everyone's favorite at the company because it is solving a real huge problem.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is input output validation. Is the
Mm-hmm.
output of the tool actually matching the user's intent? That is what the inspector does inherently if you just use it out of the box from Explain.
Mm-hmm.
But for deployment and for production, what you can do with this inspector is create custom inspector. And that is a feature coming in May. So please stay tuned. It's going to be an amazing feature because it allows you to create multiple inspectors. One of the
Mm-hmm.
inspector can have a unit test. So you could actually verify that the output of a tool matches, for example, some kind of range or threshold that you have. You can have, instead of a unit test, you can have a content filter. It's based on, for example, biases or age. You can insert that. You can also have an inspector that does compliance evaluation. So you could be GDPR compliant, and all this information can go into that inspector, and then it checks the output of each tool, each agent, and makes sure that it's compliant. And also, you can have your own custom company guidelines and values as an inspector. Think of it as your really you're hiring this agent to be part of your team. You
Mm-hmm.
also wanted to follow your own values and guidelines. So you add this inspector, this onboarding of new employee inspector, and it makes
Mm-hmm.
sure that you're also compliant with the company. And that is really where we start seeing the difference between just a generic agent that
Mm-hmm.
can do things on the fly, but an agent between, and the difference between an agent that should work in production and expect random really input, right? You can't predict what the user input is going to be. It can
Right.
handle edge cases. It can report them for debugging reasons and for auditing reasons. And auditing is really a big word that we're going after because after deployment, you should not be blind. You should always
Right.
have super visibility to what happened, when it happened, and what can be done.
Awesome. Okay, that was, I bet, a lot of information, but it's very useful information. And, I've shared a link from where you can get started, how to build agents, and whatever Noor just explained, you'll find it on Explain's documentation website, SDK docs, and everything. So, sign up. Let's get started because all the micro agents that you just explained, it just makes so much sense for building a end-to-end like especially for the complex use cases. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, I'm all about, trying to catch up with the hypes that go around, and especially, within the LLM and agent space. Now, I cannot resist this one. So, because, uh, especially if you have spent even 10 minutes on social media lately, you have seen the term MCP getting thrown around everywhere.
Yes.
So, I'm going to let you unpack this for everyone. How is Explain thinking about Model Context Protocol, aka MCP,
Yes.
and where does it actually fit in the picture that we are painting for what you like to call AI builders?
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful question. So maybe like a small definition, super, super simplified of MCP. It is just a protocol to make it easy for agents to know how to use tools and standardized. So that makes it really more useful for companies that are not like, that are using third-party APIs and assets to plug
Mhm.
in these assets into their agents and solutions.
Okay.
Internally, to explain, from day one, we already had our version of MCP.
Mm.
So today we have 38,000 different assets that they
Mhm.
are either LLMs, they can be scrapers and search engines,
Mhm.
they can be translation and transcription models. Over 60 different functions are covered in these under these 38,000 assets. And for
Wow.
us to be able to allow them to plug into your agentic solution without glue code, we actually had to build our own MCP version into Explain. It's called model serving. And what it
Mhm.
does, it standardizes the communication between all the assets and the agents. What
Mhm.
this allows you to do really is once you even deploy your agents and you figure out that a new version of Llama, let's say Llama 3.7 is out, you can
Yeah.
just swap the Llama 3.3 that you have been relying on, and without downtime you will find 3.7 now running your agent and inside of our orchestrator. That is one of the benefits of having that standardization is swappability, easy testing, easy plug and play, and so forth. However, Explain is always about bidirectional integration. So we do have our MCP kind of version inside of Explain, but as
Mhm.
a marketplace owner, which we have so much to offer to the world and the community, we want it also to be MCP compatible. So in the next few days, you will be able to log into Explain, and every asset of these 38,000 assets will have its MCP interface, and you can just drag it and use it in your preferred tool. So we have our team now testing already with Cursor, so you can use the MCP inside of Cursor and other tools
Nice.
similar to that. Um,
That's pretty
I
cool.
just want to mention one additional benefit of using MCP through Explain, because there are a lot of MCPs out there.
I
Um,
bet. Mhm.
so besides the breadth and the diversity that we have, it is only one API key that you need to create on Explain in order to handshake with over 50 different AI vendors, including Claude, Anthropic. We're talking Anthropic, sorry, with OpenAI, AWS, Google, Amazon, the small players as well as the big players. They're all in Explain. Instead of handshaking with each one and
Mhm.
having a different subscription model with each one, you just handshake with Explain, and you can use their assets. And the pricing we have on our platform matches the vendor pricing. The only fees that you're paying is really just about the deployment and hosting and orchestration that we're doing, but
Mhm.
the asset price is matching the vendors. So you would feel, that you are well taken care of. You can have all the assets. And if we're missing an asset, we always encourage people, just let us know what's missing. We can add it. And this is free of charge. That is going to solve the problem of tool fragmentation. A few days ago, our CEO shared a post where someone was breaking down how much they're paying a month in order to have one AI application out there, and it was around $350 to $400. Subscriptions to OpenAI, subscriptions to a transcriber provider. All these will be available for you through one API key and one billing and transaction form. So that's a great benefit that we see to our platform in addition to having the agentic framework.
That's really cool. Okay. I mean, if I could get just one API key to access the vast marketplace of models, especially they keep growing every day, there's a new
Correct.
model.
Yeah.
And having one API key just makes life so much easier.
Yeah. We have, I think, more than 180 different LLMs today, and all swappable against each other. So you can quickly test and deploy.
That's awesome. And for everybody who's listening in from YouTube and LinkedIn, please feel free to share your comments, any questions if you have for Noor and myself. We are here to answer. In the meantime, I would mention that we have a very cool call to action. And if you're nodding along and thinking, okay, I want to try this, but where do I even start? Well, we have got something for you. So we are hosting a free, I repeat, free 2-day Spring Agent Training Bootcamp next week. And day one is all about foundational concepts because we have noticed it's so easy to jump into tools without truly knowing what's under the hood. Now, and day two, it's hands on. We will build agents together, explore tools within Explain, and make sure you leave with real experience in building agents. We are, however, mandating Python as a requirement for this bootcamp. So, if you're curious or if you've been meaning to dive into these agent systems but want some structure, some support, come hang out with us. It's free, it's fun, and you will leave way more confident than you started. Now, I'm going to share the link here in the chat. This is a Google form, which all you have to do is just submit it, and we will select the participants, and you will get the link. You will get some emails with where to join us from, what to expect, and we really, really hope to see you there.
Yeah.
Let's wait for
I'd like to add to this. This is really an exclusive event because unlike regular training where you're either online or you have one trainer doing the entire course, we have actually asked our own AI engineers and scientists to participate as instructors. This is a unique time to ask them really deep questions, understand how they're thinking about the design. So it's not going to just be about them describing the systems and the underlying foundation. It will be conversational. So join in and have all your questions answered by the team.
Yep, it's going to be conversational, interactive, and bombard us with your questions. We will be more than happy to answer them. Give us feedback. We're always welcoming any kind of feedback for our platform. But this was fun. We have
I have
some
one more
comments.
announcement. Can I mention the announcement?
Please go ahead.
Okay, so this is for beta testers. So we are all about really testing a few new things on Explain, and because you talked about the builder experience, next week. So just follow us on social media. We will post a link where you can download a graphical user interface experience. So not a drag and drop, it's like a no code really experience to build agents on Explain. And you will be able to download that application and build directly and have your agents deployed with a chat interface attached to them. So really, it's an exciting opportunity for people to start. And once you logged in, if you have any questions, if you face, as I said, we're beta testing this. If you have any bugs you want to report, please join us on Discord. Sonam's there almost all the day. So you'll find her. And once that beta testing phase is done, this will become an integral part of the platform as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Noor. And we have shared all the links to join Discord, to where you can, sign up on Explain and start building agents. We have our Google form for the Spring Agent training that Noor and I just spoke about. Hope to see you guys there. Join our Discord, bring in your questions. Ooh, before we leave, Amar has a question for you. What are some of the MCP servers you're seeing being used in the industry at large?
So some of the biggest ones are actually attached to productivity tools, such like Jira, GitHub. These are like the most, even we're using them right now in order to create internal operational agents for Explain. Um, but as I mentioned, if you are following with Explain, everything will become MCP compatible and you can go from there. MCP is not adding, by the way, new functionality. It's just using the plug and play. So if you have been using an API before MCP, you probably will use the same API after MCP. Like MCP will not encourage using more. This is not the purpose, let's say, because if the API is available, you can use it today or already without MCP. MCP is really about just streamlining the communication between agents and tool and just making it easier. But again, usually the tools that are interesting are search, web scraping. With these two tools alone, a lot of agents have been deployed on Explain. You can imagine like price matching happening using these tools. You can scrape prices from competitors, price match them, create pricing plans accordingly. And also the productivity tools, including Atio, Jira, and other platforms that offer their APIs for public.
Awesome. Thank you for the question, Amar. Actually, now that leads me to a question I have. Do you think it's a good question or something to think about? Can we compare API versus MCP? Is it like a relevant question or that comparison makes no sense?
As I mentioned, I think APIs will be wrapped as MCP just to be more agent compatible. And I'll give you an example of how actually this works. So when we onboarded Google Drive to Explain, the number of functions that you can do is enormous. You can create a file, you can delete a file, you can rename a file. And if we treat them as traditional APIs, the agent will be super confused because there's a lot of functions and tools and parameter definitions that it has to digest. So it's either we're putting the work on the developer, choose a subset of those, and then like if you discover later you need more, you add more tools, or we have this MCP server that can tell the agent what is possible with that API, which is like example is Google Drive, and then another call can be made to actually pick the right function. So it's really also handling this problem that agents can confuse tools whenever they have so much of them. And I cannot recall which MCP. It might be Jira. I'm not sure, but they had 900 different functions inside of them. And yeah, these can grow crazy. So this is one benefit of that. Another benefit is if the MCP is well maintained, then it will always be updated. So if new functions are added to, for example, the API that is from Atio, that you can do more things, the MCP will already know. So the function that your agent will already know without having to recompile things. But that's really if it's well maintained. However, it doesn't come without cost. Now internally, we're looking into how to add inspectors for MCPs, particularly because they do come with their own risks of vulnerabilities.
So is it agents for making sure MCP is working correctly?
It's gonna be it's a wild west for sure.
Okay then.
Yeah, but
Looking forward to this
I want
new
to come
feature.
back to this is the beauty of having the micro agents. It's like you don't have to think, where do I put this, right?
Yeah.
It's the architecture. We know it's on prompt or response. We know it's an action based or like redaction is action-based versus block, do not allow versus pass and warn. So we have these kind of different policies, and you just need to customize that. And you say, oh, I have a new inspector for you. Just because MCP has rolled, this is the new one, and you don't have to overthink the communication between the agents inside.
Got it. Okay. This was a fun thing to learn about today. But I think we are a little bit over time, and so glad for everybody who listened in, joined, and shared your comments and questions. We hope to see you next week for the Spring Agent training. If you have any question, again, join our Discord, reach out to us on LinkedIn or any different social media. You'll find me on Discord and on LinkedIn. Feel free to share your questions and comments, and hope that we see some agents on Explain from you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Noor. It was a pleasure talking to you as always.
Thank you.